Before we begin, let me explain the Japanese cultural context of this story. In Japan, talismans called ofuda are sacred paper charms blessed by Shinto priests or Buddhist monks. They are believed to ward off evil spirits and protect homes from supernatural harm. These talismans are typically placed on doors, windows, or walls of houses. When a location becomes heavily infested with spirits, multiple talismans may be applied as spiritual barriers. The concept of kotodama, or word spirit, is also important in Japanese belief. This is the ancient idea that spoken words carry spiritual power and can influence the physical world. In Japanese folklore, when someone is possessed by a spirit, they may experience various physical ailments, or lose certain abilities, as the spirit interferes with their body and mind. Now let's begin our story. There's a famous spot that every local person knows about. It's called the House of Talismans. And just as the name suggests, there's a house covered with countless sacred paper charms. Unlike other rumored paranormal locations, almost everyone from my university who visited this place experienced something supernatural. Even people who normally have no psychic sensitivity could see things there. My friend once told me this story. There was this unnaturally thick fog surrounding just that house, you know. As a joke, I threw some salt into the fog, and suddenly it split apart with a whoosh. I thought that was way too dangerous, so I ran away. According to people who can see spirits, it's a place where an unusually large number of ghosts gather. These spirits are blocked by the talismans and can't enter the house, so they just swarm around outside. My friend's comment left a strong impression on me that I've never forgotten. For someone like me with no psychic ability, it was an attractive spot I wanted to visit someday, precisely because even people without sensitivity could see things there. One day, during a meal at a family restaurant, I brought up the topic of the Talisman House. My senior classmate, his girlfriend, and my friend Sam, who were with me, became very excited. "Let's go right now," they said. The senior and his girlfriend, who were locals, had apparently been there during high school, but they were too scared to get out of their car. Sam, who came from another prefecture, was especially enthusiastic. After bringing up the topic, I became a bit scared and regretted it, but it was too late. I said, "Hey, that place is supposed to be really dangerous, you know. I heard there are people who were bedridden for a week after going there, and others who got into accidents on the way back." Sam replied, "What are you getting scared about now? I have psychic abilities, and I've been seeing spirits since I was a kid. If I put my mind to it, I can even make spirits back down." I thought to myself that this guy was being foolish, but he promised me that if there were really dangerous spirits, he would warn me immediately and help me escape first. Since Sam, who was usually fearless and strong-willed, would be accompanying me, I agreed to go to the Talisman House. The time was around 11 p.m. It was early for visiting a paranormal spot, but the forest road leading to the Talisman House was heavy and dark, creating an atmospheric mood just from the darkness alone. We got out of the car and I was joking around, saying things like, "Whoa, maybe we should have stayed away after all." But the senior couple wouldn't get out of the car. I called out, "What's wrong?" The senior replied, "Rachel is feeling sick, so she can't do it. I'll stay with her too." Sam protested, "Come on, since we came all this way, let's at least go take a look." The senior said, "No, really, it's fine. You two go ahead." Sam insisted, "What are you getting scared about? Leave the spirits to me." The senior snapped back, "Shut up. Rachel said she's feeling sick. Don't get cocky." It almost turned into a fight, so I hurriedly intervened, and we reluctantly decided to go just the two of us. Sam complained, "Huh, what's with them? Those two are definitely planning to do romantic stuff in the car." I replied, "They wouldn't do that in a place like this. Besides, your attitude toward the senior was too disrespectful." Sam said, "When we get back, I'm going to bang on their car window and scare them." I was speechless with exasperation, but suddenly, a barricade came into view, and I stopped in surprise. Sam said, This is where the real deal begins. The sign read, "Beyond this point is city-owned land. Entry prohibited." It was a strict barricade that even used barbed wire. Since we couldn't climb over it, we detoured into the forest once, climbed over where the barbed wire ended, and returned to the road to continue forward. Looking back now, I think it might have suddenly gotten cold the moment we crossed that barricade. Or maybe not, I'm not sure. But I could tell that the atmosphere had definitely changed. I became tense and walked in silence. In contrast, Sam was looking around excitedly, saying, "Oh, there's one over there. Hey, there's another one over there too." He was as excited as ever. By the way, I had heard beforehand that there was a decoy at the Talisman house. A school friend had told me, "Listen, when you go down the forest road, you'll first come across a white house. But that house is just an ordinary abandoned residence. There's an animal trail going uphill beside that house. You have to climb up there to reach the real Talisman house. Sometimes people mistake that ordinary house for the Talisman house and just go back home." And that decoy house really existed. Since I had told Sam about the decoy house, we both calmly headed for the animal trail beside the house. Then Sam stopped and said, "Wait a minute, I'm going to light a cigarette." He was having trouble getting it lit. While I was absently gazing at the White House, I thought, "This place has quite an atmosphere too," and approached the White House. For some reason, even this ordinary residence was surrounded by chains. I didn't feel anything particular and was about to duck under the chain when, "Mike!" Sam called out my name. Surprised, I turned around to see Sam staring at me with wide eyes, still holding his cigarette in his mouth. I couldn't understand what was happening and couldn't move. But when I realized that Sam's gaze wasn't directed at me but at something behind me, goosebumps covered my entire body. My spine became cold as ice. It was the first time in my life I had experienced such a sensation. I wanted to run toward Sam immediately, but somehow my legs wouldn't move. I was in complete panic. Whether he sensed this or not, Sam suddenly let out an enormous roar, "Wah!" and ran back the way we came. Helped by that loud voice, I came to my senses and ran with all my might. The forest road felt unusually long, and I felt a desperate fear, but I remember thinking, "Don't look back. This must be exactly the kind of situation that saying refers to." We finally escaped the forest road and burst onto the main street, jumping into the car with tremendous force. When we got in the car, the senior, sensing that something was seriously wrong, asked us, "What happened to you guys? What occurred?" I was shaking uncontrollably and couldn't answer properly. I could only say, "Please start the car quickly. Please. I'm sorry, please." All I could think about was getting away from that place. Since our frightened state was clearly abnormal, the senior didn't tease us and quickly started the car. Silent driving continued for a while, and all we could hear was the senior's girlfriend quietly crying. Suddenly, I was hit hard on the back. Bang! Surprised, I looked to the side and saw Sam's face with a big smile. Sam said, "Did you enjoy yourself?" With those words, I understood everything. Honestly, I wanted to punch Sam, but more than anger, I felt relief and liberation flooding through me, and all the strength drained from my body at once. The senior also seemed to grasp the situation, and glared at Sam through the rearview mirror, saying, "Sam, you really, this guy is the worst. I'll never go near a paranormal spot with him again." But still, I was so relieved. The senior probably felt the same way. Though he usually had an angry personality, he didn't blame Sam too much, and was comforting his girlfriend. The car interior, having regained its composure, became bright all at once. Sam was recreating the situation from earlier, and by the time we returned to town, we were back to our original excited mood. Just as we approached the convenience store and the senior said, "Should we buy some drinks?" That's when it happened. Thud! A loud sound came from the car roof, and the car interior shook. The senior instinctively hit the brakes hard, and car horns blared from the vehicles behind us. The senior asked, What was that just now?" Rachel said, "Let's go into the convenience store for now. We're bothering the cars behind us." I had no idea what had happened either. maybe a bird or something. But is that even possible? While I was thinking, the car pulled into the convenience store. We hurriedly got out of the car and checked the roof. But there was no sign of denting. Even when I lit it up with my phone's flashlight, I couldn't find any traces of scratches. The senior said, "That's strange, something definitely fell on us." We had no idea what had happened, so we were wandering around the car and the nearby road when I noticed that Sam hadn't gotten out of the car. I went back to the car and asked Sam, "What's wrong?" But he didn't answer. He was looking down and seemed to be shaking a little. I had a bad feeling and shook his shoulder firmly, shouting, "Hey, what's wrong with you?" Sam muttered in a hoarse voice, "It followed us." Sam's words made me lose my sanity. "What do you mean it followed us? Wasn't that whole thing a lie?" Sam was pale and trembling. The senior's girlfriend started crying too. We decided to calm down for now, so we bought warm drinks from the convenience store and gradually got him to talk. Sam explained, "That place was dangerous from the very beginning. You remember the barricade, right? The real reason we detoured through the forest wasn't because of the barbed wire. There was someone standing right beyond the barricade. You couldn't see them, so I couldn't say anything. But if I had said let's stop here, it would have been really uncool." Even after we crossed the barricade, spirits were swarming everywhere. They were standing in the forest and on the forest road, but they seemed to have no interest in us, so I managed to pretend everything was fine. When we reached the decoy house, there really were no spirits there. I was finally relieved and thought I'd have a smoke, but while I was lighting it, you wandered off somewhere. When I looked in your direction, she was there. A woman with long hair. She was looking down at you as you tried to duck under the chain. I called out to you and tried to run, but it was too late. By the time you turned around, that woman was clinging to your back. We returned to Sam's apartment, and even though we had bought alcohol intending to drink, we went straight to sleep without touching it. I felt like I was too nervous to sleep, but strangely, I seemed to lose consciousness immediately. The next time I regained consciousness, I heard sounds coming from the bathroom. Gah, gah, the sound of someone vomiting. I hurried to the bathroom and found Sam hunched over the toilet, throwing up. "Are you okay, Sam? Pull yourself together, Sam!" I shouted while frantically rubbing his back over and over. But when I looked into the toilet bowl, I froze. Sam was vomiting blood. I desperately tried to maintain consciousness as it threatened to slip away, and I frantically pounded Sam's back like a madman. "You jerk! Stop messing around! You jerk!" I kept hitting Sam's back while crying. I vividly remember the room's dim nightlight swaying back and forth even though there was no wind. I don't know how much time passed, but the ambulance I had called arrived. I got into the ambulance with Sam as he was being taken away to the hospital. Sam had already lost consciousness, but he was gripping my clothes tightly and wouldn't let go. After Sam received treatment at the emergency hospital, I heard an explanation from the doctor. Sam had damaged his vocal cords. The doctor said this wouldn't happen from just shouting excessively, and asked about the circumstances, but I couldn't answer. From the next day he was hospitalized at a different hospital. I went to visit him almost every day, but because of his vocal cord treatment, Sam couldn't speak. Our conversations had to be written on paper, but it felt empty and sad, so we couldn't have much conversation. Of course, I couldn't ask about what happened that night. Time passed like this for a while, and one day when he was about to be discharged, I went to visit him, but Sam wasn't there. When I asked, they said he had been discharged yesterday. Thinking he could have at least contacted me, I sent Sam a congratulatory email about his discharge. An email came back from the postmaster. Sam had changed his email address. I had a bad feeling and hurriedly called him, but he had changed his phone number too. I thought I had no choice but to wait for him to come to university. But Sam didn't come. My bad feeling was correct. Sam had quit university. I asked the administration office to give me his family's phone number, but they said they couldn't give out the phone number of a student who had quit. I had completely lost all means of contact. For about 2 years afterward, while I was still in university, I never saw Sam again. Epilogue. The power of words. Recently I was reunited with Sam through a junior from the same club who turned out to be from Sam's hometown. I asked the junior to show me around Sam's hometown over a weekend 2 weeks ago. This junior, who had often played with Sam until middle school, knew Sam's home address. Though I thought it might be a bit forceful, I had been constantly worried about Sam, so I visited his family home. Sam's mother came out, a cheerful, short and energetic looking woman. When I explained the situation, she was surprised but immediately called Sam for me. Sam appeared at the entrance with his head shaved. He was wide-eyed at the sudden visit, but said hey, with an awkward smile and an embarrassed voice. Seeing Sam looking healthy for the first time in so long, I almost started crying. He invited me into his room, and we talked about various things. The conversation was strangely tense and formal, but Sam answered as follows. What happened that night? Sam couldn't sleep next to me as I slept soundly. Actually, he chose not to sleep. He had firmly resolved not to let his guard down until morning. Then, in the middle of the night, Sam felt cold and opened the closet to get a blanket. That woman was there. Before Sam could react, the woman overlapped with him. His consciousness became intermittent from that point. When he came to, he was vomiting toward the toilet, making sounds like ugh, gah. He said, maybe I was instinctively trying to expel the foreign object. But only blood kept coming out. He said, I thought I might die there. It was no longer a conscious effort to vomit. Blood just kept overflowing from his mouth. He doesn't remember me hitting his back or calling his name repeatedly. Why he suddenly left the hospital and cut off contact. The hospital doctor said it was outside their field. Sam's vocal cords were almost completely healed, but his continued inability to speak was a matter of consciousness, a psychological wound. In other words, this is outside our jurisdiction. Sam's mother recommended returning to school while attending a clinic, but Sam insisted on quitting university and returning home after discharge. No matter what anyone said, he absolutely wouldn't budge. After that, his parents came to pick him up, and Sam returned home. He said, I was half crazy, but I didn't think hospitals or clinics could solve this somehow. The woman appeared in his dreams every day, and he developed sleepwalking habits he'd never had before. Before the situation got worse, he planned to have himself purified at a shrine or temple and live quietly in the countryside. As for cutting off contact, he only answered, I didn't want to worry you. But I think Sam wanted to forget everything. What happened to that woman before returning home? Sam had confessed everything to his parents. With both parents accompanying him, he visited a large temple in his hometown. Surprisingly, as soon as Sam arrived at the temple, he was led to the main hall by the head priest, who said, confess everything here. Sam, who couldn't speak, tried to confess everything with paper and pen, but suddenly his pen stopped moving. Even though his consciousness was completely clear, he experienced sleep paralysis so severe he couldn't breathe. It was his first time experiencing such a thing. When Sam suddenly began suffering, the head priest and others hurriedly began an exorcism, but his vision went completely dark, and after hearing several people's hurried footsteps, sutra chanting and metallic sounds for a while, he lost consciousness completely. When he woke up, he was on a futon in the temple's guest room, with the head priest and his parents beside him. The head priest explained to him, it was a spirit with particularly strong resentment, and the way it possessed him was not normal. It was invading from the inside, and Sam would have been in real danger if they had been even a little later. The head priest said, it wouldn't come out easily, so I used this, and showed him a wooden carved Buddha statue. It apparently had the effect of being a substitute. Though it was a simply made figure, it looked very divine to Sam. About the woman, part 2. The head priest explained that there was meaning to Sam losing his voice. In Japanese belief, kotodama, the spirit of words, holds great power. When a malevolent spirit possesses someone, it can interfere with their ability to speak, as speech is considered a form of spiritual power. The spirit was trying to silence Sam to maintain its hold over him. Even after the exorcism was complete, Sam's parents were worried seeing that he still couldn't speak. But the head priest said, He's fine now. If he gets nutrition and rests for a few days, his voice should return. Indeed, within about a week, his voice gradually recovered, and he was able to live a normal life again. After that, Sam found work with a temp agency and has been living peacefully ever since. This is the entirety of my supernatural experience. Sam told me that after the exorcism, he never saw that woman or any other spirit again. He had lost his psychic abilities. Perhaps those powers were sealed away along with everything else in the substitute Buddha statue. In any case, the lesson is that you shouldn't approach truly dangerous paranormal spots, even if it's not just for fun. We realize that we don't have any power to deal with things from the other world.